Good morning.
I'm Mary Tarbell-Green. Yeah,
Nice to meet you. Thank you. There's a new world coming, and it's just around the bend. There's a new world coming, this one's coming to an end. There's a new voice calling, you can hear it if you try, and it's growing stronger with each day that passes by. New morning, rising up so sweet and free. There's a new day dawning that belongs to you and me. Yes, a new world's coming, the one that we've had visions of. Coming in peace, coming in joy, coming in love. There's a new world coming, and it's just around the bend. There's a new world coming, this one's coming to an end. There's a new voice calling, you can hear it if you try, and it's growing stronger with each day that passes by. There's a brand new morning, rising up so sweet and free. There's a new day dawning that belongs to you and me. There's a new world coming, and the one we've had visions of, coming in peace, coming in joy, coming in love.
Good morning. Am I on?
You are.
Good morning. Welcome. My name is Mary Tarbell-Green with my assistant, Tim Kraus. This is the scholar, and I'm the wearer flowering your hair from California. Old hippie. First of all, I want to say Les Tacey from Heritage is our pianist in residence today, our singer in residence from Heritage. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. I am Mary Tarbell-Green. Tim Kraus and I will be your worship leaders, and we'll also deliver the sermon today as a dialogue. We're delighted that you have joined us today, both in person and online, for this morning's worship service. We are a community of social justice and supporting the various spiritual and ethical paths of our members and friends. We strive to be welcoming to all.
We have a proud history that goes back to 1830, but we also acknowledge that we occupy stolen land. That is the ancestral home of the ancient earthwork and mound building people, as well as the Miamia and the Shawnee people. This is an uncomfortable history that we must recognize as we struggle to live with the implications of that profound injustice. If you would like to know more about our church or about Unitarian Universalist faith in particular, please contact us by emailing member-care@firstuu.com. For those watching at home, this email address is in the description of today's service on our YouTube page.
Joys and concerns. Part of being a beloved community is sharing our joys and concerns with each other. And if you would like to share something with the congregation, please complete the form on the back of your order of service. Place it in at the altar at the back of the sanctuary. This is new. So exciting. Back in the back is a table that has our Share the Plate donations, should you want to, and then our joys of, we have Vanna back there showing us, Vanna's showing us the new box for both of them. And so if you have a joy and concern, write it on the sheet of paper, put it in the box, and it will either be dispersed, it'll go to Dr. Alex, or I'll reach out to you, one of the two of us. So, flowers. Today is Bill Baker's 80th birthday. He's January 2nd. It's my other assistant here. January 2nd. Oh, it's your birthday too. Happy birthday, Capricorn. January 2nd is his 80th. And so there are two things. One is he's at home with a bunch of family, so they're not able to be here. And number two, the sensitivity around his memory loss is something that Bev wants to capture in your thinking of him on his 80th birthday.
As you may know, our Director of Lifespan Faith Development, Meredith Plummer, is on a sabbatical until June. And so that means some very special things for us. The Lifespan Faith Development team is covering for Meredith in her absence, but we're just a small group of people, and we need your help so that we can continue to offer a robust religious education program here. We're looking for our usual classroom helpers, but we're also asking people to take turns at being Meredith, someone who's going to be present at our RE offerings on a Sunday morning, which means overseeing the program on Sunday morning and helping with any problem solving. It's actually a lot easier than it sounds, and Meredith has left really great detailed notes about how to perform this function. So we're asking people to sign up on a rotational basis to do that kind of overseeing responsibility so that we can cover for Meredith at that point. And then finally, we're going to need people to do the Time for All Ages on Sunday mornings. This could involve telling a story, reading a book, or doing some other short presentation that is engaging for kids but for everyone. You do not have to create a video presentation like Meredith has done over the past couple of years. That's not something that we would expect. So members of the Lifespan Faith Development team will be in the lobby after the service today to sign you up for any of these tasks. Even volunteering a couple of times during the semester would be tremendously helpful. And if you have questions, you can contact Molly Gillespie or myself, because we're going to be co-chairs of the Lifespan Faith Development team. So we're going to be heading that up, and you can talk with either one of us if you have questions. So
finally, we have a very special video today regarding this month's Share the Plate, which is the Jeanette Rankin Fund. And you're going to see a very special person, kind of a mega star in the video, but also too there's a thread going on today with not only Share the Plate and with our particular contributions, but also with the reading of Velveteen Rabbit that I do today. So there's a thread that goes through all of that. So please listen carefully to this beautiful video. See if you can spot who it is.
One of the things that really impressed me when I came to Jeanette Rankin was the 8-foot-tall map of the United States upstairs. And on that map of the United States is a dot representing each one of our scholars. And it just shows to me the incredible impact. We have scholars in every state.
What I have learned being a Jeanette Rankin scholar is it is all rooted in love. Love for myself, love for mankind, love for seeing others do better, because if others do better, then we all benefit from that.
It has been said that when you educate a man, you educate an individual. When you educate a woman, you educate a family and a community and the nation.
Women's role in the world and in society is connected to the well-being of everyone.
50% of all of our households in this country are now headed by women.
The mission of the Jeanette Rankin Foundation is to support and empower women to get their higher education degrees and ultimately to create better lives for themselves, for their families, and for their communities.
Our women have grit.
The scholars are an incredibly resilient and courageous group of women.
These are women who have gone through a lot of challenges in their lives before we get to know them. You know, 50% or more are survivors of domestic violence. They're working full-time. They're, parenting, and largely single parenting.
And yet they still dare to think, I can get my college degree and I can improve my life.
The way scholarship organizations measure their effectiveness is persistence rate. And persistence rate means the number of people who continue and the number of people who graduate. And our persistence rate has continually been above 85%, and this year was 94%.
We have an average GPA of 3.6 of our scholars coming through us every single year.
I remember thinking, I want better for my daughters. And the only way that they are gonna know what better is if I show them. And so I made the decision to come to school. I'm doing this for them, yes, but I didn't realize along the way that I was doing it for myself too. And I realize that now. Like, I needed it just as much as they need it.
It's a video of the notification of the scholars that they've received the funds.
And they're just overcome with joy, and then we're all sitting there overcome with joy and crying.
Some of the scholars have said things like, I will make you proud. And in addition to the thank yous, the copious thank yous, they say, thank you so much for believing in me.
Receiving this scholarship is like a stamp of approval. You're worth something. You're worth our attention. You're worth our investment. Now go do it.
The funds can be used for any purpose whatsoever. We've had recipients who needed new tires because they had to transport a fair distance to get to school, childcare, food, paying the utility bills.
We look at their larger life, their total life, and say, what are the obstacles? She wants to pursue this education. What's getting in her way?
That aspect of agency is what makes the Jeanette Rankin Foundation scholarship funds so very powerful. And I think it's something that the scholars really appreciate, is that level of trust.
The difference with Jeanette Rankin is that they said, we're gonna take this walk with you. They wanted to make sure that I was okay. They went the extra mile to say, we're here. What do you need? What do you need financially, but more importantly, Emotionally, what do you need?
I'm telling you, whatever they need, I know that they can get it from the staff here. And I hope we can continue to foster that, not just with our team, but even from sister to sister.
It's not just a check, and they tell us that again and again and again, how important the support is.
For me, it's really important for women to support other women because we understand each other. And when you understand each other and when you validate each other, it makes you feel more powerful together. But I didn't realize how much that I needed a community like that.
So it's believing in them, and then it's adding all that wraparound support. That's the secret sauce that makes the Jeanette Rankin Foundation different.
So in case you didn't recognize our own Rosie Park in that video, she
One
was
of the things
there,
that really
and
impressed.
Also, Chris Dendy's mother was also one of, and she is a board member who introduced Rosie to the Jeanette Rankin Foundation. So we're exceedingly happy that we can contribute to that through our Share the Plate program for the month of January. Now, we're getting ready to greet each other, but before we do that, let's wave to the folks who are watching us on YouTube. I will call you all back after with the singing bowl. Sorry about that miscommunication. What? Yes. Thank you. Well, speaking of greeting our neighbors, don't forget that we have our first Sunday potluck today. And even if you didn't bring a covered dish or anything else to support that, please stay and join the company of everyone else. There should be plenty of food for everyone. And now we will begin our service with the lighting of our chalice.
This is from James Baldwin. The longer I live, the more deeply I learn that love, whether we call it friendship or family or romance, is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light. Gentle work, steadfast work, life-saving work. In those moments when life and shame and sorrow obstruct our own light from our view, but there's still a clear-eyed, loving person to beam it back. In our best moments, we are that person for each other. So, Meredith's shoes are pretty big to step into. So if I can have the attention of the kids, we're going to read a story before you escape. So, what time of year do you see bunny rabbits the most? When do you most see? Spring, right? So if you're going in service and shopping for a bunny rabbit, this is not the time to do it. So we have a bunny rabbit that's got make-believe ears, and the story that we're going to read today is called The Velveteen Rabbit. Has anybody read The Velveteen Rabbit? Really? Yay! All right. So in the beginning, the Velveteen Rabbit was truly splendid, fluffy, plump, his ears lined with pink satin. He looked very sweet, and he peeked out from the Christmas stocking with a sprig of holly. And the boy received the rabbit as a gift and was delighted, and he hugged and patted the rabbit while playing and talking with him, and he did it for almost 2 hours. And in between, there were new presents, but the boy lost himself in excitement and forgot about his Velveteen Rabbit. The little rabbit spent time in the toy cupboard behind the nursery, and there he met many toys, expensive toys, mechanical toys, that often said, "I am real." They boasted about themselves and snubbed the rabbit for being mere cloth. And the Velveteen Rabbit felt very ashamed and hid himself timidly in the corner. "What is real?" the rabbit one day said when they were lying side by side in the nursery before Nana came to tidy up the room. "Does it mean having things that buzz inside of you?" "Real isn't how you're made," the skin horse said. "It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long time. Not just to play with, but really loves you. And then you become real." "Well, does it hurt?" asked the rabbit. Between them all, the poor little rabbit was made to feel himself in all the other toys very insignificant and commonplace. And the only person that was kind to him at all was Skin Horse. The Skin Horse had lived longer in the nursery than any of the others, and he was so old that his brown coat was bald in patches and showed seams underneath, and most of his hairs and tail had been pulled out. He was wise, for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys, Boast and Swagger, and he knew that they were only toys and would never turn into anything else. For nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only these playthings that are old and wise and experienced like Skin Horse understand about it all. "Real isn't how you're made," said Skin Horse. "It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a very long time and wants to play with you, but really loves you. Then you become real." "Well, does it hurt?" said the rabbit. "Sometimes," said the Skin Horse. "When you're real, you don't mind being hurt." "Well, does it happen all at once or bit by bit?" "It doesn't happen all at once," said Skin Horse. "You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose at the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all because you're real and you can't be ugly except to people that don't understand." One evening, Nana, who was the nursemaid, noticed that the toy dog the boy always slept was missing. "What a bother," she thought. And then she quickly snatched the Velveteen Rabbit from the cupboard. "Here's your little bunny," she said to the boy. "You can sleep with him from now on." And from then on, the rabbit slept in the boy's bed every night. And at first he found it very uncomfortable and stifling being tucked under those covers. But soon he grew to really like the boy. The boy was always kind to him, made a little burrow in the covers for him, and they chatted and whispered together endlessly. And when the boy fell asleep, the rabbit snuggled up into his cheek. Spring came, and they all went outside to play, and the boy and the rabbit were always together, and the rabbit was offered rides in the wheelbarrow. Gradually, he became grimy and muddy, but the rabbit didn't mind it at all because he was happy every day. Once, when the boy suddenly was called to go on an outing, the rabbit was left out in the garden, and Nana came to look for him after the dark. "This scruffy bunny is indeed a bother. All this fuss over a toy the little one can't even sleep without. What's so special about this dirty old toy anyway?" "Stop it," said the boy to Nana. "He isn't a toy, he's real." And the Velveteen Rabbit was overjoyed. "I am real. I have become real." And he was too happy to sleep that night. It was a wonderful summer. And one day, when the Velveteen Rabbit was sitting by a tree, as he always did, he saw two strange things emerge from the woods. They were rabbits that looked just like him, but with no seams, and their bodies stretched and shrunk. "I wonder where the key to wind them up is." "Why are you sitting still?" one of them asked. "Why don't you come play with us?" said the two rabbits. "I don't really feel like playing," said the Velveteen Rabbit. "Well, you're an odd one. Look, can you hop like this?" as they hopped around. "Well, I can," said the Velveteen Rabbit. I can hop really high. But he didn't want to. And so he just said, I just don't feel like it now." And the wild rabbits began to whirl all around in a dance. "Come on," they said. "Come dance with us," as rabbits do, hopping all around. "How can I dance like they do?" he wondered hopelessly. And suddenly, one wild rabbit stopped dancing, put his face right up to the Velveteen Rabbit, and said, "He smells funny. This isn't a real rabbit." "But I am real," cried the Velveteen Rabbit. "The boy said so." And then he heard the crunch of the boy's footsteps, and a flash, the two wild rabbits were gone. "Come back, please," said the Velveteen Rabbit. "I am real." Time passed, and the Velveteen Rabbit grew old and became even dirtier and shabbier. He was so shabby that many people's eyes hardly ever saw him. But to the boy, he was as beautiful as ever. And that was enough to make the rabbit happy. He knew being shabby didn't matter because the magic of the nursery made him real. Then one day the boy fell ill. He had a high fever, slept all day, strange people came in and out, and the rabbit clung to the boy, hiding under his comforter. He was careful not to be found. He talked about the wonderful things they had done, spending time in the garden. He whispered in his ear about how they played together. And after a very long time, the boy woke up. On a bright summer morning, the windows to the nursery opened up and spread wide. And the next day, they were going to the seaside and stay there until he was well again. "Hooray!" cried the rabbit. "We're going to the beach." And the rabbit was delighted. It was in that moment that he heard the boy's doctor talk to Nana. "You must disinfect. You must clean this whole room and burn all the books and the toys that might have germs from when the little boy was sick. Burn it right away. You can burn the rabbit too and get a new one." Oh my gosh, the Velveteen Rabbit had never thought he would end this way. And he was put into a sack, put out into the garden, shivering in the cold. The Velveteen Rabbit stuck his head out of the sack. "I wish I could go back to that wonderful time and the beautiful memories." And it almost broke his heart. Why should it all end like this for someone who had been so loved and so much become so real? A real tear trickled down his cheek and fell to the ground. Then a strange thing happened. From the ground where the tear had fallen, a sprout and a flower quickly grew, and soon the flower opened from the inside, and a beautiful fairy appeared. "Little rabbit," she said, "do you know who I am?" And the rabbit was stunned, and he forgot about crying and gazed at her beauteous wonder. "I'm the fairy of the nursery. I take care of the toys that the children have truly loved. And when their time comes and they have to say goodbye, I come for them and make them real." "But I'm already real," said the rabbit. "You were real for the boy because he loved you very much. And tonight, I will make you very real for everyone." And she kissed him gently on the nose and said, "Now you shall become real to everyone." And that's the end of our story. Our little rabbit became real. And you have a little token of his love with these little rabbits that have real ears. And you can put them on your backpack, or you can put them in your bed. Whatever you'd like to do before you leave, please take one of your little velveteen rabbits with you. That's for you. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm so sorry.
And now, our first hymn this morning is number 115. Actually, it's 108. "My Life Flows On, an Endless Song."
My life flows on an endless song above earth's lamentations. I hear the real, the far-off hymn that hails a new and dungeon vile. Our thoughts to them are winging when friends our shame are undefiled. How can I keep from singing?
We have so many little pieces of paper up here. Today's a different kind of homily. I just created a new word. Today's a different homily because Tim and I are I'm going to have my words of inspiration or insight, whatever you want to call them. Then Tim is going to have his, and then we're going to sit and talk, which I think really is going to be quite a challenge because we have the scholar, the dates, the historian, and then there's me. So we don't know how this dialogue's going to go, but it's really in the spirit of the new year, of new beginnings and trying something new. And again, I want to echo that the Velveteen Rabbit and the Jeanette Rankin video, when the first woman said, the first scholar, that it was all about love. Those were her first words. The whole experience for her was about love. So, today's sermon is brought to you by the letter R. Repent, renewal, replenish, recharge, rebirth, revival. So I want to know how many of you are still stuck on that repent. How dare we use the word repent in a Unitarian service, you say? In traditional Christian terms, we associate the term repent with sin. Say aloud your sin, your mistake, your confess, your confession, your asking for forgiveness. Perhaps throw in a little flogging while you're at it. But really repent, what it really means is, it means to express sincere regret, one of the R words. To feel sorrow for what we have done, and in expression of the sorrow, ask for forgiveness, or more importantly, change. Change your mind and your attitude about the judgment versus reacting. Change your behavior about that misstep versus regret it. That R, repent, becomes an action toward change. Thus, repent becomes a redo, a renewal, a reconnoiter, if you will. Investigate. We investigate or inventory our behaviors. Ouch, why did I say that? Why did I bark at him for asking a simple question? Which invites the letter I toward our own investigation, inventory, or inquiry. On some level, we automatically do this as we have entered the new year. How was last year for me? How were my judgments, or my actions, or my behaviors? The new year is a kind of confession, if you will, an inventory of 2023, and maybe pronouncements about new perspectives, or new behaviors, or new me. Granted, we all make those pronouncements like a new diet, and then we get challenged by a huge dessert table at the first Unitarian potluck. We're only human. I'm not really talking about that new diet thing. I'm really talking about what we do as we dive deeper into our own hearts and how we have been and want to be with our heart. How do I communicate and truly dialogue versus disagree? How do I or can I learn to forgive, to trust versus recoil? What is my heart's longing as I enter a new year which is fraught with war, ongoing world discord, violence, school shootings, politics. What Tim and I will try to offer today is nothing necessarily new or epic. What Tim and I are echoing today comes at this time of year when we ourselves, each of us, in our heart of hearts, are asking, yearning, lamenting, hoping for a new being in love. I recently listened to such an offering by Brian McLaren of the Center for Action and Contemplation, where he referred to such a charge, a call to action, a discernment that we all have on some level, which is why we're here today. He calls it radical resilience, the ability to face change or hardship with greater love and deeper awareness. We hear the term resilience and we think bouncing back, oh, that child was so resilient, they were so resilient, which for me minimizes the epicness of a fire. They were so resilient. We don't look deeper. What he goes on to say is what I think we've been doing here at First Church this past year as we've gone through change upon change. We've hung in there, we've shown up, we've kept things going, we have flourished, we have thrived, we have welcomed a new minister, and have begun our own resilience, our own insights, and our own behaviors. We're garnering inner strength, clearer purpose, longed for connections, as we continue to learn how to choose love over anger, despair, or denial. Oh boy, these are big words for such big actions, when truly all I thought I was doing was bringing a new lentil recipe to the potluck. But alas, beloveds, that has not been nor is what you are doing. Look around. Here we are, 1 year later into a brand new year of promise and possibility, and reflecting out loud our capacity to stand in the tension or confusion, the radicalness of diving deep and entering into conversation, entering depth and source of discord, and choosing to learn and to grow and to grapple and to grab hold of hope, and state that through all of this, all of our actions, our commitment toward becoming and being a beloved community. Because here's the thing, dear beloveds, what we do, learn, struggle with here, we then take out into the world and feel and do likewise. Like that mother said when she was riding through the woods with her 2 daughters, I wanted to do this for me, but really more I wanted to do it for my daughters, because I knew that what I was doing for me would then be done and be in the name of the legacy of my 2 daughters. That is what we're doing here today. We take what we do and feel and express out into the world. When we feel hopeless or powerless over continued loss of life in Ukraine or Gaza, or a 17-year-old killing a 6th grader, or hopeless around current presidential debates, when we turn off the news and sit back and sigh, when what has happened here in this temple of longing and lunging and learning, we then take out into the world. Maybe it just looks like we don't react. Maybe it looks like we donate to the Jeanette Rankin Giving Possibility to Women of Purpose. Maybe it looks like we take our kind hearts to South Avondale Elementary. What I do know that is this dive deep into becoming and becomes the sanctuary in our own hearts, it comes from love. Our love, our willingness, our courage to repent, grow, change, to be each of us. Holding open our hearts for this thing that we do call love, the me in you and the you in me. Namaste. Because, kind scoundrels, we are resilient and we are radical.
I could hug you for that one. I think it's important that we don't hide our disabilities. I do need hearing assistance at times, and I'm embracing it. And I hope you do too. Mary and I had no idea what the other was going to say today. And I have to say, I'm in awe of what you presented just now. And what I'm going to talk about is how we deal with the current realities that we're facing. Mine's going to be, if Mary's vision of this is the good ship Lollipop, I'm Debbie Downer. With a twist, Debbie Downer with a touch of joy and hope, radical hope. Because I think that we need to be serious and real about what we face in the world outside of these walls. And it is what Alex has said to us time and again. It's about how we show up in the world, how we represent who we are, how we represent where we want to go and what we want to be. And in order for us to show up in the world in a way that's going to be meaningful, we have to understand what's going on in the world. And one of the fears that I have, and I've shared this with others before, is that I really do believe that our world is sleepwalking toward fascism. Yes, I'm going to use the F word because we need to get used to using that word because it does define what is happening in our world. What we have to figure out is what is our response and how do we show up in the world given that reality. It has a lot to do with what Mary talked about in us looking at our own resiliency and looking at our own responsibilities, a couple of ours there, for how this has come about. But we also have to analyze it a little bit in order to be able to counter it in a meaningful and loving way so that we can show up in the world and have a real impact and possibly change things. So we're sleepwalking toward disaster, and it's a sobering assessment of our existential reality in the planet that we're becoming or creating a world that's going to gradually be uninhabitable. And I'm not speaking just uninhabitable from an environmental point of view. I'm talking about socially uninhabitable as well. There's a rising political authoritarianism that's spreading throughout the world, not only in the United States, but in Europe, in South America, Africa, in India. There are so many examples of how freedom and democracy have been eroded, and they're disappearing. And in order for us to get our hands around that, we need to understand what the driving forces of that are. The driving force for all of this rising fascism is a malignant late-stage capitalism that is driving this chaos. It's driving a wealth inequality, it's driving an uncertainty, and I'm not talking about the capitalism of private enterprise where somebody sits down and says, I'm going to start a business and buy products and sell products to people. We're talking about large multinational corporate capitalism that is actually raping the world
and destroying our capacity to do good for each other. And it rests on this image of chaos, and we need to understand why chaos has become a tool. Chaos is a tool to pit people against each other. We stand on the brink of possibly living under a dictatorship 1 year from now. And we have to be real about that. That could very easily happen in our country. So once again, how we show up in the world will matter greatly. And it's going to require the commitment of our communities to support each other in that. And chaos has become a tool of this authoritarianism. It creates a situation where people who would ordinarily not embrace authoritarian solutions to the problems they see, grasping for those authoritarian solutions because they see nothing but chaos around them, and it's going to take a strong leader to pull us out of that chaos. That mentality and that mindset is done by design. It's not the way things have to be, but it is by design to create chaos so that the only solution that rational people can come to is to grasp authoritarian solutions. And those solutions are solutions that punish people. They're solutions that divide people. And they always divide and punish the wrong people. And they do that so that the oligarchy that runs our country's economy can continue to enrich themselves at the expense of everyone else. That's why immigrants are blamed for economic problems, drug addiction, and the poisoning of the blood of our nation. That's why the entire LGBTQI community is blamed for corrupting our moral universe. This is why women seeking control over their own reproductive health care are being treated as criminals. This is why unions who organize for a living income are blamed for what is really the corporate greed-driven inflation in our country. This is why the extremely poor are labeled lazy, even though they work and still cannot find a place that they can afford to live in. This is why religious and cultural minorities face overwhelming discrimination and violence driven by hate. And that list can go on and on. It is a chaos that is driven to divide us. If there was ever a situation that calls for voices and actions of people of faith, this is that time. People and institutions of faith are needed now more than ever to be voices of opposition against the madness of hyper-nationalism, fear-mongering, and greed. Now, one of the things that I, in trying to pivot here, is coming up with some kind of solution. We cannot do this by ourselves. One of the things that I remember Alex saying in one of the most recent newsletters, the news of the world is overwhelming. And it's really difficult for an individual to find a way out of this. But there is a way out of it, and it has to do with how we build community. It has to do with how we treat each other inside these walls, so we take that outside to the rest of the world. It means that we take risks by forming solidarity with people who do not have the support of their families, that do not have the support of a society that cares about them. And those tasks become much easier when we start to personalize them and saying, I care about the brother and sister who lives down the street from me because their predicament is my predicament. Their pain is my pain, their suffering is my suffering. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's what Alex has been leading us through inside our own congregation. that we need to share our joys and our pains with each other, just like we need to do once we step outside the doors of this congregation. Now, I was going to go through a whole list of the tactics of fascism, but I'm going to leave that and suggest that we actually have an educational at some point to actually talk about that so that we can self-educate and so that we can be ready to deal with what's coming down the road for us. Because even if this upcoming election does bring an authoritarian government, that does not mean the end of the world. It means the beginning of more work for us. But it's a great opportunity for us, too, to stand up and to build community in the face of chaos and division, because it's community that is going to save the soul of this nation, much more so than personal greed. And I want to close my remarks by saying that if we look at what we have been able to do collectively over the history of Unitarian Universalism and the history of organized religion in itself, there's some really great hope. One of the things that we're able to do is that we support the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, whose goal is to empower local communities to take control of their own lives. We provide resources for people to do that. The Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice, which one of our members here, Dan Schneider, sits on the board, is seeking to look at ways that we can draw attention to the fact that people are empowering themselves and making a difference in their lives and their communities, and we can support them. We don't have to always feel like we have to do it on our own. We are much stronger together. We are much stronger when we think about the power of community and what it can do for us. So I'm going to leave my remarks there, and Mary and I are going to sit down here. You're saying we're running out of time. We will leave our remarks at that point, and a continued conversation will happen, and I would like to propose that we gather at another time to take a look at the lecture of the Berry Street lecture that occurred at this last General Assembly, because I think is a lecture that gives us hope for how we can move ahead. I'll be sending that out via email to people so that you can look at that link, and maybe we will do an educational that will focus on that as a way for us to counter all of the trends that we see embracing the world right now. Now, as our final hymn, we're going to sing a song, God of Grace, God of Glory. God of Grace, God of Glory was written by Harry Emerson Fosdick. And Harry Emerson Fosdick, in the first half of the 20th century, was considered the dean of liberal theology. And he said that Christianity is a beacon of hope for the world. And he was primarily talking about liberal religion. And Unitarian Universalism is a beacon of hope for the world, because we recognize that building community is so, so important in the way we go about presenting ourselves in the world. So if you are willing and able, please rise as we sing hymn number 115.
115.
God of Grace, God of Glory.
God of Grace, God of Glory.
Story, bring his blood to glorious life. the daily goal. Fill us with a living vision, heal our wounds that we may be bound as one beyond division in the struggle to be free. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, ears that hear and eyes to see, ears to hear and eyes to see.
Tim's so sad that we couldn't do what we wanted to do, and so we're going to do it some other time, but I'm also aware that we have a lot of food waiting for us. So given the weight, not of the food, but of us, given the weight of what we've heard and taken in today, if we could take a deep breath and take in whatever snippet, whatever piece that resonated with you, and take it with you and kind of nibble on it and see how it manifests itself. So, taking that deep breath, go in peace, live simply, gently at home in yourselves, act justly, speak justly. Remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power in the days of your powerlessness. Do not desire to be wealthier than your peers, and stint not your hand of charity. Practice forbearance. Speak the truth or speak not. Take care of yourself as bodies, for you are a good gift. Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with yourselves. And as you go, with the dream of that peace alive in your heart.
Song. It's not what's in the program, but it does have a connection to hope. I can see clearly now, the pain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me down. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Oh yes, I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Look all around, there's nothing but blue sky. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue sky. Well, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Here is that rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day.